Welcome everyone. My name is Forrest Evans. You might recognize me from our release notes videos, and I am the director of product for the Rundeck. It includes Rundeck open source and the Rundeck core products. And I'm excited today to have both Fred and Martin here to chat with us. So we'll just go over quickly with our agenda, and then I'll hand it off. We're going to kick it off with some announcements from Shenda here. She's our community advocate, manages all of these community events, has done a ton of work to get this event to happen today. So we appreciate that. And I'm very humbled and happy that Fred has decided to carve out time to join us today. Fred and I have worked together definitely as long as I've been here at Rundeck, because he is I won't steal the number or steal the thunder, but he has been a long time Rundeck user with tons of experience there. So look forward to him sharing his story on Rundeck with you. And then we have our very own Martin Van Son. The real Martin, will you please raise your hand so that folks know which
Okay,
and
like
the other Martin joining as panelist, probably here to help and correct all of our technical mistakes is our own Justin Roberts. So that's who we have on the call today. I will hand it off to Shenda for some PD Commons announcements.
Thanks, Forrest. Hi, folks. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Shenda, Community Program Manager. I'm one of the people who organize these meetups. And if you like what you're seeing here today, and you'd like to be the next speaker sharing your experience with Rundeck by PagerDuty, you can do so. Just join PD Commons and learn what you have to do. I'll be dropping the links in the comments here, so you don't have to worry. We hope to see you here next.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, it does give you a lot of great inside access to myself, Jay Cohen, Martin, Justin, in the lead ups, and we really appreciate it and do our best to show that appreciation. So please join us.
So following up and fun activities and things we're running, we have our webinar series called Demo Roundups. It runs every third Thursday monthly. The next one happens to be tomorrow, so we can join us to know how to identify system weaknesses to improve resilience. We have a special guest from Noble 9. And then every third Thursday of the month, we have a new demo. Join us for Watch a Live demo, ask your questions, and know more about PagerDuty. Next one is our runbook automation and Rundeck release notes. We had just last week, Forrest was there sharing everything that is new, version 5.11, and now you can watch. It was a live last week, but you can watch on demand whenever you want on LinkedIn and also YouTube. I'll also be dropping the links right after the announcements.
And I also always put those videos onto our actual release notes pages. You can watch myself and Jake, like Shenda said, live stream and sometimes fumble over our demos. So that can be entertaining. But we do try and catch everyone up on what's the latest coming out. And you can go back through previous releases as well, all on our release notes page.
And then speaking about Jake, he will be with us in a webinar next week, next Tuesday, to talk about how to supercharge your Rundeck plugins with AI. So don't miss that. We'll be live, but it will also be available afterwards. You, Forrest, if you have more to add on this, is a
Actually, we've kind of expanded the agenda. I'll be joining as well onto that webinar. So Jake and I will be both sharing stories about plugins that we've both written recently, various types of plugins using AI. But leading up to that, we'll give you the whole rundown on what is a plugin, how what are the different types out there, why do you want to consider writing some, etc. So, and then if you join that, you'll hear about some upcoming webinars and live streams where we will do some live coding of plugins using it.
Next, we'll have May 8th is our product launch, the spring one. And we'll have our VP of product, David Williams, talking about everything that is new, PagerDuty Operations Cloud. roadmap announcements, and you can catch up on agentic AI, of course, and all the brand new cases. Register and don't miss that. It will be a good one. Second to last, if you're attending Red Hat Summit Ansible Fest in Boston, come meet us for Tech Max Automation Fiesta. It will be a networking reception we're throwing with our friends at CloudBees and CoreLogics. So you can meet like-minded professionals, discuss AI automation and the latest in digital operations, and of course, taste some nice tacos and drinks. And the last one for me, I promise, is PagerDuty Commons. Is our online community of digital professionals. You can go there to continue this conversation, you can ask questions, find answers, and sign up for next events and a lot more. Thanks for listening to here. I'll pass it back to our host, Forrest, to announce what's next in this meetup.
Right, so we do have the agenda for today's call, but we also are strongly encouraging to keep it interactive. There will be spots, specific portions for Q&A for the various speakers, and you're welcome to leave your feedback in a post meetup survey that should pop up. I think that's going to pop up via Zoom here, and it is being recorded. Only portions of it will end up on YouTube, but you'll be able to catch up on all the other news, and the content a little bit later. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Fred.
Okay, thank you very much, Forrest. My decade orchestrating with Rundeck. I'm Fred Ellenberger, Senior Solutions Architect at Optum, which is a branch of United Health Group. Been with the company a little over 10 years, and quite frankly, that entire time, I've had the privilege of working with the Rundeck product. I'll talk a little bit about my organization or group, Data Management Services, give you an idea of what we do for the company, share our services vision for Rundeck. We all are here and hopefully know what Rundeck is, but we'll talk a little bit about how we position Rundeck for use in the company. Give you a little high-level overview of how we have Rundeck deployed today. I'll then segue and share my journey with Rundeck over the years, and talk a little bit about the tides of change and how the company as a whole has made a strong shift to supporting open source projects and what that means for us internally. So data management services, we're a pretty slim team of technologists that essentially, as you can see, we try to create value for our customers that are dealing with data management and data-centric solutions. At our core, we are DevOps driven, but we are driving digital transformation in the company, specifically for the branch we work with, which is Optum Insights, payer operations, but we also provide services to the rest of the company. We offer SaaS solutions, open source-based solutions, as well as enterprise licensed products. Just to give you an idea of the breadth of solutions we do provide, as you can see, we provide Jira, Confluence, NIME, which is a data science tool, Nuxio, content delivery, MongoDB, big data, as you see, Rundeck, Talend, which is an Informatica type data transformation tool. And we provide custom services as well to organizations in the company. So Rundeck, 10 years ago, we had no automation platform. Primarily, we were offering Talend Enterprise as a solution. Not only were we using it to service our organization, but we basically wrapped it into a subscribable service that other groups in the company could take advantage of. Talend had its own scheduler that did an okay job, but ultimately, push came to shove. Decisions were made to try to look for an alternative scheduling program. And this is where Rundeck came into the picture. So I joined the company. We started searching. There's lots of different tools out there, whether it's Uzi, Rundeck, some other open source products. But ultimately, we made a decision to go with Rundeck. And at that time, it was Rundeck Pro. So we really wanted to develop a capability that created value, that wanted to manage their infrastructure and DevOps solutions. And we also wanted to solidify our open source position with Rundeck by making it the de facto job execution and process management tool in the company. So not only did it serve its purpose for us, we saw extreme value in the platform and wanted to provide that as a service to other groups that maybe have similar challenges. And so I won't go verbatim on this, but ultimately, many folks in the company look at the corporate catalog, they see tools, they don't really know what they are. We gave an overview for them to whet their appetite. Ultimately, if they were interested, they would engage us, and we would go in depth into what Rundeck could do for them. But everything here is essentially a value proposition in and of itself. And so Rundeck is that Swiss Army knife that can do anything you want it to do. So we really love the open nature of the product, and it really resonated. This message resonated with many groups in the organization. High level, won't go too detailed, but ultimately we deploy Rundeck with high availability and scalability in mind. So yes, we have load balancers on top of a traditional 3-tier stack of web server, app server, and database servers. And as you can see, we try to cluster where possible. So we have MariaDB as our standard database platform. It's scaled quite well. Have had no desire or need to look at alternative solutions. And Galera as a replication tool has been steadfast in ensuring that our data is protected. And at the bottom, you'll see that we connect to various things. Rundeck can connect to 100 different backend systems. But yes, we use LDAP authentication for our users, SSO, object storage to store logs, etc. And we connect to systems like ServiceNow, and not even there is things like Jira. So Rundeck does interface with a lot of systems in our network. So our journey with Rundeck, and primarily my journey. First, I will say I feel very privileged to have been involved with the Rundeck platform for the number of years I have. It's not common that we get to stick with things for a very long time. Sometimes we have to shift, but I've had the ability to grow and expand in the Rundeck arena. I've met wonderful people at Rundeck and now PagerDuty, and they've been a wonderful support for us over the years. So I wanted to just say a quick kudos and thank you for all of that. So back in 2016, we standardized on Rundeck Pro. That was the licensed product at the time. We deployed on Windows to start, but to be perfectly honest, quickly made the decision to standardize on the Linux platform. Given my background and understanding and desire to move to a much more scalable platform, we moved to Linux, and that's essentially where we've been for the entire duration of our use. We implemented with SaaS in mind. So we expected very high scale operations. We created a multi-tenant solution. So we had a single instance of Rundeck for dev, one for stage, one for prod. And ultimately, we siloed our quote unquote customers by projects. So our clients' customers would log in, they'd see their one-to-many projects, and they would work in their workspaces. Nobody would step on each other's toes. And it's worked quite well using access control lists in Rundeck. So today, we have 60 plus tenants. So that's essentially 60, 75 projects defined in our product environments. Well over 11,000 job definitions. Some are archived, but we have a significant number of active jobs in the system. We support anywhere from 12 to 15,000 executions daily, depending on the schedule, a day a week. And I can say that Rundeck executes those like a champ. We really are very pleased with the scalability of the product. And I'll be very frank, we have not had to throw a ton of hardware, virtual or otherwise, at Rundeck to keep it responsive and stable. It's a very stable platform, so I'm very pleased. Our common uses, as you can see, operations support, yes, patching, security and compliance, which is a very big deal at Optum and overall United Health Group. We provide self-service operations. Folks want to provision software or servers, they can use Rundeck runbooks to basically initiate provisioning and bootstrapping of servers. We also use Rundeck to do deployment automation. So it also can support CI/CD workflows. Jenkins isn't the only person in town that can do some CI/CD work and support software development life cycles, and we've proven that with Rundeck. As I alluded to with Rundeck, working as an orchestrator for talent, what we use Rundeck for primarily, a significant part of the workload is as a workload distribution engine. So ultimately, talent, you can define these black box jobs that do data transformation. They may connect on to many data sources, create reports, exports, whatever it might be. Rundeck will take those units of work and essentially distribute them across an array, a grid of virtual servers. And this has worked quite well. It brings a lot of visibility to those executions, to logging results and reporting of success failure. Back in 2021, that's when we ultimately made the decision to also add Rundeck OSS to our slate of offerings, mainly to cater to cost-conscious organizations and ultimately satisfy the internal shift to begin standardizing on open source. And I'm very happy to report that since late 2024, we have been exclusively on Rundeck OSS, and it has worked like a champ and continues to this day. So a little bit about open source and what it means to Optum and United Health Group. Ultimately, with the shift to centralize or standardize on open source solutions, we've had the privilege to build out resources to help support that. How do you make it successful to support open source in your organization? So we have staffing to support that. Business analysts, product management to do requirements gathering and prioritization of any customization work that our client base might need. We have the actual software engineers that can perform enhancements, fixes, and most importantly, vulnerability remediation, which is a big priority in the company. And we also have quality engineers that will develop robust automated test plans and ensure code coverage when we consume an open source release and we layer our custom code on top of it. And we just got started. This is a new journey for us. We're about 6 months in. We have a lot of growth to do, but it's a very exciting branch that's been created. And our ultimate goal is to contribute back to the project. We don't want to silo our code and keep it local. We want to give back. And so we know that Rundeck OSS is an actively developed platform, which we value greatly. And ultimately, we strive to coordinate with the open source teams and prioritize with them and see how we can help the community take a new product that's stable and has great new features. So our goal is ultimately to contribute back to the main line for both fixes and enhancements. And I'd be remiss by not mentioning, as a San Franciscan and being a basketball fan with our beautiful Golden State Warriors in the playoffs, if you're not aware, the big slogan for them is strength in numbers. And I truly believe that it takes a village to make things successful, especially in the open source community. So really, it's about rallying together and doing everything we can to give back. And that will only benefit all of us in the future.
Yeah, and I'll just tack on to that last little bit of strength in numbers and working together. I'm not sure that anyone maybe on the call knows how much Optum and you specifically, Fred, have provided back to the product. Over the many years, Optum has sponsored development of particular features that are now in the product. They've really driven the product forward as far as different functionality and some of the things that we see in the product today are rooted in that. So we 100% appreciate the contributions, and I will kick off Q&A. You mentioned in one of your earlier slides that you had a ton of different departments. I mean, up to 14,000 executions, and how did you advertise or encourage or entice other groups or the groups within the company to jump on the automation bandwagon? Because I think that often there's some hesitation there. People aren't sure what to do or whether it's going to help them.
It's a very good question. And so ultimately, not only is our corporate catalog one of those centralized places where groups that have challenges look to tools that might help them, United Health or Optum has their own, what we call PADU, which is preferred, acceptable, discouraged, or unacceptable ratings for software packages. So one of the big things we did was work with those powers that be to ensure that Rundeck had a preferred or acceptable rating, which ultimately put it on the radar. And the beautiful thing is because we had quite a few Talon customers already, we were able to get Rundeck into their hands fairly quickly to solve their particular business needs around execution of Talon workloads. But that quickly segued into conversations about what else Rundeck can do for you. And as you know, that's a very broad pasture, field of conversation because Rundeck can do really anything you need it to do. It's just about defining those workloads and understanding the challenge. So we were lucky enough to have that in our back pocket to expose Rundeck to groups. And at that point, I tell you, it rolls up to VPs. VPs talk. Those challenges are, we have forums, technical forums where groups will come and ask questions. And so we marketed Rundeck ultimately in these forums and planted seeds that ultimately resulted in being reached out to and signing up customer after customer to use the platform.
Do you have a sense of ROI or time savings, or did you ever get a chance to?
We've played with that, and it's definitely a significant ROI because ultimately, a lot of the manual efforts or data collection that was required to track, for example, execution of these Talon workloads, we had resources that were dedicated to running, observing, and collecting data, whereas Rundeck in its scheduling platform could not only do the scheduling and ensure that jobs executed on time, but it maintained a historical record of those executions, which allowed a lot of centralized reporting to come out of that. But from a DevOps perspective, that's where really the savings comes from. And so when we talk about bootstrapping, patching, and configuring platforms, we would easily, an order of magnitude, save 300, 400, basically a 4-hour job was strapped down to 15 minutes. And so we definitely have well over 200, 300% optimization in time, depending on the workloads that they were trying to achieve. And so the cost of the license, the virtual cost for us that we provided per user was peanuts compared to the hours or days per month that they would save using the product.
Oh, we have a question from the community from one of the participants as well. David Darby's asking if over the approximate 10 years of Rundeck usage, did you develop any custom plugins and what were they for? Can you give some background on that?
Very good question. And yes, we did. We have quite a few, some little, some larger. So for example, with the Talon workloads that we had to support, I developed custom plugins essentially that would interact with the packages that Talon produced in order to do things like customize class paths or alter memory allocations or things of that nature that product needed. One of the big ones that we created, which is fairly simplistic, was the management of NAS connections. And so from a Linux perspective, using CIFS or NFS-based mounting, we allowed users to define those patterns and connect to their NAS drives from a job step in Rundeck. And that's proven to be very useful for groups to be able to attach to storage. And before PagerDuty, Rundeck had an S3 or object store plugin. We worked with Rundeck back in the day to create basically an S3 interaction tool. So for any S3 compatible storage, we could do all of the common operations around copying, moving, syncing, things of that nature. For not only, when I say S3 compatible, we used IBM CleverSafe back in the day, but also works for Amazon S3 as well. So those are some of the primary ones we worked with. We dabbled in Kubernetes plugins. We haven't standardized on using Rundeck to orchestrate in Kubernetes, but we've played a little bit with that. But those are the primarily three that we've used over the years.
And I remember this from our conversations, the main reason you chose to write plugins was the repeatability of that job step. You could obviously write a script and put it into the script step, but then you got to go update that script in every step everywhere. So writing the plugin allowed
Exactly.
you to enhance that code, or if you needed something else to happen, you could make sure that it propagated everywhere.
That's right.
I
We created, yeah, we created, a basic form that asks for 3 or 4 pieces of information, and then ultimately the plugin will take that and run with it versus having an operator have to look at an inline script and make some modification or things of that nature. So we were able to black box these repeatable patterns, which I'm all about automating repeatable patterns. And so this is why Rundeck is such a powerful tool in my tool belt, and how much I've loved working with it. Uh, the automating of repeatable patterns in and of itself over time ends up being a significant time saver in not only mundane tasks but complex tasks that have predictable outcomes.
All right.
Probably going to steal that sentence from you, Fred. Repeatable patterns. Thank you for that.
Automation does require a repeatable pattern. I'm just checking to see. Here we have another question in the chat. You mentioned using Rundeck as process management tool. I wonder if you're integrating Rundeck with other tools.
So yes, Rundeck comes also with a wonderful suite of APIs. We've used that to initiate job executions from other platforms, whether it's script based on disparate systems. Um, Folks have used it to monitor executions and pull execution data to determine success and failure and take next steps. So not only do we have downstream systems feeding into Rundeck to do job executions. We then have Rundeck communicating with systems outside of itself, whether it be ServiceNow, Jira, and other disparate systems to essentially create workflows that are beyond just Rundeck executing a unit of work. Jenkins as well. We've had Jenkins communicate with Rundeck to run jobs. We've had Rundeck kick off Jenkins jobs. So we have quite a few different patterns that we've used in Rundeck in the center of that platform.
Right. Well, without any other questions lined up, I think we'll move on and let Martin move on, get started with his section here. Martin,
Yeah, and actually the question of Alexis fits perfect with my story as well. So self-service and automation. So again, my name is Martin van Son. I'm the Dutch guy within the team. I've been with PagerDuty for let's say the time that PagerDuty did acquire the Rundeck platform. So 4 years now, and we talk about the platform day in, day out. And I've noticed that there's a big trend now around platform engineering, where people are building a self-service portal for developers to use, and then basically run whatever needed for their compute, like infrastructure, tools around it, storage, and yeah, boost productivity while still reducing operational bottlenecks. But yeah, it's quite clear that many organizations are moving from an SRE way of working towards a platform engineering way of working with the golden path, like the standards. And if you look at our platform, and this diagram is still on our website, it's out there for years, but it's still applicable. For us, it's always, as you can see on the left, it's about signals, and could be event driven, like an incident or something that's scheduled to run. And then on the right, you can see what it normally does. And Brett called out how he's using it, but you probably do all of them, like restart of servers, get log files, create tickets, I don't know, everything, which is fine. It's really the Swiss Army knife. But in this specific session, I want to talk a bit more about the API, which is available for people to use. And I think normally like 99% of all the functions you can do via the UI, you can do via the API. And if you use the API, definitely to trigger jobs on a simple call. It's like a post command you do, and it runs a job within a project. It's like pushing a button that really kicks the process behind the scenes. You can add information in it if you use the API, so like a server name or a host name. And in the call, in the post command, you pass it through and then it runs. You can also use webhooks, obviously, but webhooks do not allow you to add any data in the webhook itself. For that, you do need to use the enterprise version. But still, a webhook is also a way of triggering a job in a project. And if you do, then obviously you need to get updates on the job execution, if it runs or not. Let's say the log files and all quite clear. You can really get that done all via the API. And then definitely embed it in other tools. Well, Fred already called it out. Other platforms as a front end. For sure, go ahead, do that. Or build your own custom front end. And I've seen more and more organizations build their own custom front end, where you can have your company colors, a few fields that people fill in. They push the button, and on that execution of that button, that's where the post command is triggering the API, and then basically running the job on the Rundeck platform underneath, even without people realizing Rundeck is being used as an orchestrator. So self-service for the platform is very, very powerful. On the left, you can see the inbuilt Rundeck UI. Most used by everybody. You got the green triangle, you click the button and it runs the job. The Rundeck UI is let's say the native one. Rundeck Automation UI is the enterprise version, but for sure, it's all built in. But if you would use it in combination with something like ServiceNow Jira, like Fred also called out, you can use that as a way that people will go to, click a button, and then basically runs their job. You can see a bit of a screenshot here, but this comes from the ServiceNow user interface, where people use that as a front end. And then within the platform engineering world, as mentioned before, stuff like Backstage or Cortex are quite popular. I see the same trend. Developers go to a Backstage IDP, an internal developer portal. They read how the golden path sort of looks like. They see what they need to use. Whenever they build code and they need an environment to test it, it's all been written out. And then this could lead to a job execution on the Rundeck platform. More and more people are doing it. It's a clear trend. Or build your own UI, like I said before. Also interesting to see that Accenture, one of the larger global system integrators, but they also build their own platform and they use ours as a system of action in between. But for us to be the orchestrator where you have your job execution, where you have insight and who did what and when, that still is there. You still log into our UI to get that granular insight, but on running something, using something else in front, all good, no problem. Backstage specifically, again, it's an open source platform. Some call it the system of record, where you have the catalog of ownership, like what do I need to do? So the developer goes there and identifies its services. And then the synchronization with our beloved Rundeck is around that catalog and that inventory. And then running something based on an event or trigger on an incident or basically a human trigger. That's where it sort of comes together. You do not access the Rundeck UI, you stay in the Backstage UI. You do go to the Rundeck UI if you build, but once it's been built, again, Fred's team, if they build it, other people can use another UI then run it. And then your target is still the same. It's still IT infrastructure, could be data, databases, anything that we normally access with something like SSH or WinRM or even kubectl if it's container technology. So that doesn't change, but having something in front as a self-service platform, standardized, very powerful. So Backstage, and again, I'm not advocating to buy that platform. It's open source as well, but it's developed by Spotify, super popular, has a rich plugin architecture. Well, you can also build your own plugins there, but definitely the catalog and the standard things you want to do. It's built for developers by developers, so very unified developer experience. And again, it's open source and community driven. So the takeaways of what I wanted to tell everybody in this session, Rundeck has always been very powerful for self-service, scheduled automation, and event-driven. I think, Fred, you gave an excellent example. You can use Rundeck in your creative ways but extend it to other platforms. So again, fine if people want to use our UI, but also fine if you want to use the API and connect it to something else. The API documentation on our portal is quite rich. So everything you need is there for you to use. And then lastly, to close up on it, our platform definitely is enterprise grade. So if you want to scale up and you need like additional security and you need support, then definitely reach out to us for the more enterprise specifics. But in essence, the self-service message I'm bringing here, you can fully do with our open source. There's no limitation at all there.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Fred. It was good. Thank you, man.
Been my pleasure. Thank you.
Bye, team.